Hello, and I really welcome to my channel Excelsior Academy. So I have started now on the demand of many students the GATB, that is Graduate Aptitude Test in Biotechnology, in order to pursue your career in MSc Biotechnology. So that is like where you can do your future postgraduates in IITs and JNUs, MSU, but BHU. So all these universities are there. So I have started series, and along with the videos, now I have started taking the online classes also. So already I have got 12 students. Now it is open for registration also. You can also join. Please contact me for further details. And let's begin our journey. So the motto over here is to complete the entire syllabus in 6 months. So that is with the minimal fees also. So we have started with the first lecture series. So please join as soon as possible so that you don't miss the important topics over here. So in this schedule, what we have planned is like one session will be for the bio, and the other session on the same day is for maths, physics and chemistry, because we are targeting IIT JAM also. And in the case of GATB also, you need certain percentage to clear for your physics, chemistry and maths. So those are not tough, it's easy, just your +1 +2 level. So that will be also explained, and all the questions from previous years is also being discussed. So I really welcome, please join as soon as possible, and let's begin our this journey to clear this exam without any fear in mind. So I hope you people are going to join as soon as possible. So this is my first online lecture class on GATB and IIT JAM preparation. So I welcome to your my academy. Actually, I started before itself. It's called actually Excelsior Academy. I didn't mention before. So thanks for trusting and joining me. And so let's start our preparation for IIT JAM Gate B. Okay. So first topic, what we are going to discuss is about the biological membranes. So this I think you must have studied also, but still let us revise a little. And wherever you feel like asking questions, you can just stop me and ask. Okay, either you can chat via chat or by unmuting yourself, you can ask the questions wherever. If my voice is not audible, let me also know. So let's start with this. Now plasma membrane, or sometimes we'll call it as cell membrane only. Okay, so it is the fundamental structure of cellular evolution. Now what I mean by cellular evolution over here, anyone can tell me? Yeah, anyone can tell me what is cellular evolution over here? It means
Every cell has a plasma membrane
that
compulsorily.
that is there. That is true. Now, when we say about
Yeah.
cellular evolution, you must have studied how a one particular cell was evolved, right? So when you must have studied during your cell theory and all, over there you must have studied like how exactly the one particular first cell was made. So one first cell was made. Remember that Oparin and Halden theory is there. The soup they have talked about, the origin of life, right? We'll also do again, no problem. So that was a time when first time. Can someone mute themselves because background voice is coming? Yeah. So what is happening, the first membrane, it was established. Now it is called cellular evolution because in the evolution first the membrane was formed, and then inside these proteins, DNA, carbohydrates, they came later. So first thing which started with the origin of life was first the membrane synthesis. Okay, so we know that now prokaryotes and eukaryotes are surrounded by plasma membrane. Now that is universal, we all know. Now, what is the main function of this plasma membrane? Because it is going to compartmentalize the material which is present. So now we know that in case of eukaryotes, everything has been compartmentalized. You have got your nucleus separately, lysosome separately, mitochondria, chloroplast, everything is separately. Everything is made up of these membranes only. So now what is the function here? It defines the cell's boundary, separating its internal contents from its surrounding. Okay. Now we know that it allows selective passage to molecules. Now why selective passage? Right now we know that because plasma membrane has got lipids and proteins. Okay. So lipids are what? It has got both non-polar and polar, correct? Then proteins can also be non-polar and polar and non-polar. So here we'll talk about plasma membrane, phospholipid and proteins. Okay, so we know that phospholipid, it is making your membrane impermeable to water soluble. Now why? Because lipids, they are fatty acid long chains, correct? And they are not soluble to or insoluble to water molecules. So these are basics. We'll go on like further. Now coming to the proteins, they will allow certain organic molecules to pass. Now when we say that one particular thing is moving from one place to another, okay. Now suppose this is your plasma membrane and we know that here lipids are there, okay. And if it is water, can it pass through without any help? Can it pass through without any help? Can anyone tell me? Can anyone tell me whether the water molecules can pass through plasma membrane or not? Only asking about water molecule.
No, ma'am.
Actually, it can.
In phospholipids,
No. See, the thing is, water molecule is so small that it can pass through. Okay, but again,
okay.
it become when suppose your cell is there in higher demand of water, okay, when your cells are dehydrated, and that time we want a huge amount of water, that time there are certain protein channels, we'll talk about those, which are called aquaporins. Okay, so porins, pore, so it has got a hollow space between, and whenever a huge amount of water is required, that time it will allow bulk flow of water. So there are certain molecules which can pass through because water, the size is so small that it can just pass through without interacting with the phospholipids. Okay. So is that clear? So we'll move on. Okay. Just stop me in between if you're not understanding. So this is how your plasma plasma membrane looks like. So we know that it is a bilayer now. So this is already has been established by the scientists. We'll talk about them. And the model is called fluid mosaic model. So you know that it is polar head. Why? Because we always say it's a phospholipid. So phosphate group is there. So the polar head is your phosphate group. Then you have got the two chains of fatty acids. That becomes your non-polar region, right? So this is the region where it is difficult for many molecules to pass through because of this region. Okay. So this is simple. Now let's talk about the composition. Now why I have shown the figure of RBC? Because using RBC, it was discovered the structure and function of plasma membrane. Now why RBC, red blood cells? Because it has nothing, no organelles, no nucleus. Okay. Now why this became advantageous to the scientists to use RBC? Usually a cell should have nucleus, all the organelles to carry out the functions, correct? But why it became useful for not having these organelles? Because when scientists were trying to understand, so they have to rupture the RBC, correct? They just needed the membrane. So inside content is less, it means what? Less contamination of the other molecules. So in and all, what is present in the RBC? Certain hemoglobins, the RBC membrane is there, right? And the pigments are present. So as such, nothing is there. So it was easy for scientists to take out the RBC. It's very easy. You just need few drops from your own blood you can take. Then you can just rupture the RBC and then study them. Okay. Now, how will you rupture the RBC? What is the best solution to rupture the RBC? Can anyone tell me? Anyone? Yes, anyone? See, it is easy to rupture RBC if you put into a hypotonic solution, right? So the moment you put the RBC, what will happen? It will start taking more amount of water. Osmosis, remember osmosis, isotonic, hypertonic, hypotonic. If not, again, we can discuss, no problem. So if you want to rupture RBC, just wash it with the buffer and then put into a hypotonic solution. So what will happen? Because of the osmosis, the water will go inside of RBC and it will burst. So that's how it is very easy to rupture RBC, and the membrane what you get can be studied easily. Okay. So now we know that the composition of plasma membrane is that it has got both lipids and proteins, and it is a bilayer. Now how it was known that it was a bilayer? With the help of the scientists which studied, and they were using the concepts of maths. See, this is why I said to do bio, you need to know maths. Now, how actually it was done? See, so what these two scientists, Everett Gotter and Francois Grendel, they extracted the membrane lipids, okay, and they know that now one lipid is there, so what will be its surface area? Okay, so accordingly, they calculated the surface area of the plasma membrane. Now they determine the surface area occupied by monolayer of the extracted lipid, which is spread out an air-water interface. So what happened when they started talking, when they started studying about this membrane, and then they found that it's not actually a single one. It's not actually the single layer, but they found that this is twice the estimated one. So they expected to be one, but they got the result as two. Okay. Now, so because of that, what happened then? It led to a conclusion that membranes consist of lipids bilayer rather than monolayer. Okay. So is it clear over here? Anyone? I mean, is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I'll just repeat once again. What happened is they estimated one to be there. Okay. Estimated the surface area of one monolayer surface area. Okay. But when they did the actual experiment, they found that it was actually twice. So then they understood it is not a single layer, but a double layer. Okay. So this is how actually your electromicrograph of plasma membrane looks. So I hope you are aware with the electromicrograph. So we use electron microscope, which we'll study later. So here what happens is you make use of electrons in order to get the very ultra structured images of your cells. So if you see over here, so this is your cell and this is the plasma membrane. So what they have done is the polar head. So what we talked about, right? Polar head. So we talked about the polar head. So it has got this polar head, phosphate group is there, right? And then two fatty acid is there. So this portion was stained with heavy metal. Okay. So this was stained heavy. So that's why you can see over here lines are there. Two lines are there. Now the hydrophobic fat, that is this area, it was stained with light staining. And that's why you can see the gap over here. So once they saw the structure, it was confirmed using maths as well as this physical instrument that your plasma membrane has got two layers. Okay. Okay. So this is the fluid mosaic model. One second. Someone is. Okay. Let me just add them. Okay. Now this is the plasma membrane now. So fluid mosaic model as we know. Now please listen carefully because here only all the details I'm gonna give you. So this we know it's a plasma membrane. Now we have got the information that it has got the two layers are there. Okay. Now let's go one by one. So we know that in a cell, suppose this we have got the outer and then we have got the inner. Let us say this is the inner. Okay. So this is your cytoplasm. This is your extracellular, the outside. Now, if you see the outer surface, it has got two types of proteins. So this is one type of protein and this is second type of proteins. Now, what is the first one? It is called the integral membrane proteins. Integral membrane proteins. And the second one is called your peripheral proteins. Okay. Now, when I say integral membrane proteins, it means that in a plasma membrane, these proteins are going to cross. So they will also have this polar region outside and in the cytoplasm, and this region is going to be hydrophobic. So your protein is going to be passing through the lipid membrane. So this region is going to be hydrophobic and this region is going to be hydrophilic. Okay. Then in the case of peripheral proteins, it is only present at the attached to the polar head of your membrane. So this is going to be polar proteins, and these peripheral proteins are involved in cell signaling. Please note down, okay? So peripheral proteins are involved in cell signaling. Now, next, then we have got certain glycolipids. Certain glycolipids. So from the name itself, it's clear to the lipids, a sugar moiety has been attached. So here you can see that there is a lipid to which these sugar moieties are attached. So this becomes a glycolipid. Here you see it's a protein. This is a protein part, again to which sugar is attached. So this becomes your glycoprotein. Now, what is the function of these glycolipids in glycoprotein? Again, they help in cell to cell recognition. Please note down these because these are the questions which come for your MCQs. So I repeat again. So you have got the glycolipids and glycoproteins which are involved in cell to cell recognition. Okay. Then in between, if you see, you have got the cholesterol. So here we have got the cholesterol, and that's why cholesterol is important in our system. You just cannot have high amount in your blood circulation, but it is required for your cell membrane fluidity nature. So we'll discuss in detail how actually cholesterol is regulating. Now the entire this structure of plasma membrane was studied using the technique called freeze fracture electron microscopy. So this separate class I'll take for this. It's a big technique. Okay. So this technique we'll study later. Is it clear? Can I move? Should I go ahead?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So now, so as I said already about the glycolipids and glycoproteins are there. So we have got the carbohydrates and proteins regions. So they help in cell-to-cell recognition molecules and membrane receptors. So you know that on your RBC, we always talk about the blood grouping systems, right? A, B, and O. So what are these actually? They are called the antigens, right? Now, the structures we need to study, which is important for the exam, we'll come to that later. So these A, B is nothing but your carbohydrate moieties. Okay. So it's a carbohydrates which are present on your RBC membrane. Like this. So if you have got the for A, then you have got the A antigen, and then similar for B, otherwise both are present. So then we have got the AB blood group. Okay. So this is how they act as the receptors also. Now proteins, they make pumps and the receptors. So receptors is again used for cell signaling. Now when I say cell signaling, it means what? They need to process the information they take from the surroundings and they transfer to the internal environment so that the cell can respond to the external surroundings. Now pumps, when we say, because if suppose cell needs nutrients or minerals or any kinds of ions, so for those pumps are required. So these proteins are amphipathetic in nature. It can be integral or peripheral. Now what do you mean by amphipathetic? It has got both polar and non-polar. So as I already mentioned, integral proteins, So they have got the inner membrane. If you see, they are something like this. So this region becomes polar, and the region which crosses, which is present in the fatty acid region, that becomes your hydrophobic. Okay. Now this is very, very, very important. If you can't understand, then you have to by heart. Okay. So this is the lipid composition. So till now we were talking about that the plasma membrane is made up of your proteins and lipids. Correct. Now in the lipids, what are the different types of lipids? So we have got phosphatidylcholine, phosphatidylethylamine, phosphatidylserine, phosphatidylinositol, and sphingomyelin. So these are the 5 types of lipids. Now, when I say that they are distributed asymmetrically between 2 layers, what does it mean? So you have got the outer membrane and then you have got the inner. Correct? Now, the proportion by which these lipids are present varies. So, for example, in the case of outer, you have got sphingomyelin. Then you have got the PC. So what does it mean? On the outer membrane of the plasma membrane, more composition or more amount of phosphatidylcholine and sphingomyelin is present. So you have got the PC and the sphingomyelin. Please remember. Then the rest 3, those are phosphatidylserine, phosphatidylinositol, and phosphatidylethylamine is present in the inner. So what kind of questions will come? Like among all these 5 lipids, what kind are present on the outer and what are present on the inner? Okay, for true and false also such questions can come. So I repeat again. So on the outer surface, phosphatidylcholine and sphingomyelin is present, whereas these 3 are present on the inner. So this is something you have to remember, because based on this only the questions will come and the rest of the lectures we are going to talk about. Now this is very important, the apoptosis. So I hope everyone knows what is apoptosis. Am I going fast or is it okay? The speed is fine. Just let me know if I am going fast. The speed is fine?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So let's talk about apoptosis now. So the role played by phosphatidylserine is important over here. So before I proceed with that, so let's talk about apoptosis. So what is apoptosis? It is the programmed, oh God. Okay. So it is the programmed cell death. So what does it mean? When something goes wrong with the cell and it becomes harmful and it is not able to recover or repair its the problem within the cell. So what will happen? The cell decides to undergo suicide. So this is the programmed cell death, and that too this is type 1. Okay. So what is this is also written as PCD1. So what is PCD2 then? This is just the extra information. PCD2, that is programmed cell death type 2. It is called autophagy. Okay. Please remember, because all these things we are going to study. Important. Now, coming back to the apoptosis. So, what is apoptosis? It is actually helping the cell to maintain the good number of cells and avoiding which have undergone some with the wrong mutation or something went wrong. Now, how does a cell understand that this particular one cell wants to undergo apoptosis? Okay, so for that also certain kind of signal is needed. Correct. Now for that there's something called PS. Just now we have discussed that it is your phosphatidylserine. So it is your phosphatidylserine. Okay, so PS, which is present on inner membrane of your plasma membrane. Now what is happening is, So during normal cell membrane, if you see over here, what is happening? You have got your phosphatidylserine and ethanolamine at the inner side. This is the outer side. Okay, so it is present over here and then it is present over here. Now the enzymes are floppase and flippase. From the name itself, it's very clear that what is the function of these enzymes? They help in flip-flop. That is from here to here, here to here. Like from outer to inner, inner to outer. Okay, so they help the lipids to transfer from outer to inner, inner to outer. So floppase will help in taking the lipids to the outer. Flippase is helping in taking the lipids to the insider, okay, inside part of your membrane. Now, this is the normal chemistry, okay. This is when it is happening normal. Now, when a cell undergoes a mutation and not able to repair itself, what happens that time? Certain internal signaling will be there, internal cell signaling will be there, which will lead into the increase of calcium level, okay. So this, it is called intracellular increase of calcium ions inside the cytoplasm. Now this increase is going to activate your enzyme called scramblase. Okay, so this gets activated. I repeat, when something goes wrong and the cell is not able to repair itself, the intracellular calcium level gets increased. Now, once this increase is there, it is detected and this activates your enzyme scramblase. Now, this scramblase can take both lipids from outer to inner and inner to outer. Okay. So, what will happen during this? This is something wrong because if randomly the outer and inner lipids are getting exchanged, so what will happen? Already we know that in the outer it is the PC and sphingomyelin, and in the inner PS, PE and PI is present. Now when randomly all these lipids are taken to outer or outer to inner, what happens? That time your PS goes into the outer membrane. Okay. Now this is the signal that the presence of PS on outer membrane is telling you that something is wrong with me. I have to go under apoptosis. Okay. Is it clear to everyone? Is it clear? So this is
Yes,
how
ma'am.
apoptosis takes place. Okay. So let's move on to the next. So whenever question comes like what is the signal for apoptosis, the first signal is going to be your the presence of PS, that is phosphatidylserine, on the outer membrane of your cell. Okay. Okay. Now functions of phospholipids. This is also very simple. So this already you know. So it makes your membrane impermeable to many of the molecules, and it has got the fluid-like. So what does it mean, fluid-like? Like it is more of like a gel kind of thing. It's not solid. It's not totally liquid, but in between a gel kind of material. So it can move freely in the interior of the membrane. So what is happening? So already we discussed with the help of the enzyme, these lipids can move. So they can flip flop also, and then they can also go for the lateral. Now when I say lateral, what does it mean? Lateral movement. So in a membrane, if your phospholipids are here, they can move to different places also. Okay. So what does it mean? If this red color phospholipid was present initially over here, after some time they can also move over here. So lateral movement, like on the same surface, that is outer, they can move from one position to the another. Similar in the case of inner membrane also. Okay. Now, what are the factors which are going to affect the fluidity of the membrane? So it is the presence of unsaturated fatty acids. Okay, so you know what is unsaturated fatty acid? That is the presence of double bonds. Now, it introduces kinks into the hydrocarbon chain. So what does it mean? Kinks, that, okay, so this is suppose your plasma membrane and we have got your phospholipids over here. So usually if suppose it was a saturated, so what will happen? We'll have like this, okay, straight chain of fatty acid. Now when there is an unsaturated, because of this what will happen? There is a kink. So it becomes like this. Now because of such fatty acid, what will happen? It becomes very difficult for them to arrange like this. Okay, it won't be straight then. It somewhere will be here, somewhere will be here and all. Because of this, what will happen? The packing of lipid membrane is not going to be rigid. Okay, so somewhat like fluid, like it will be open, like gel kind of condition. So membranes which contain more unsaturated fatty acids are more fluid-like nature. If they have got more saturated, then they have got rigid structure. So let me explain once again. More saturated, more rigid structure. More unsaturated, more fluid-like conditions. So currently, when in our case, body, the cells are going to have good proportion of both unsaturated and saturated. Okay, so what is happening? Our cells are neither rigid nor fluid. So we are in between, and that's how we maintain our cell membrane composition. Now, cholesterol, it affects the membrane fluidity by decreasing the mobility of the outer portions of the phospholipid fatty acid chains. Rather than diffusing freely in the membrane, cholesterol and the sphingolipids tend to cluster in small semi-solid patches known as lipid rafts. Now, this is also very important. See, in this case, what happens is, one sec. Yeah. So, in this case, what happens is, I think someone has come. Okay. Yes. So, what happens then? Lipid rafts. So, let's talk about the lipid rafts. So, what is happening is, if suppose this is your plasma membrane, in few cases you can see that there are certain raft. Raft is like what? A kind of small boat like kind of structures on which you can travel. So in the case of plasma membrane, these lipid rafts are the clusters of lipids together. Now what kind of lipids they are talking about over here? Mainly rich in cholesterol and sphingolipids. Okay, so please remember these rafts are made up of mainly cholesterol and sphingolipids. So here we have got cholesterol and sphingolipids. Okay, now what is the importance of this lipid rafts? They actually carry your receptors. Okay, so till now we were talking that the membrane has got the lipids, it has got the proteins, glycoproteins are there, which are helping in cell-to-cell recognition or cell signaling. So these rafts are responsible for those carrying those receptors. Okay, so whenever what happens is, for example, this is your cell. Okay, the outer surface is there. Now for example, it has interacted with another cell. So there is only one interaction has made. Now this gives a signal to rest of the cell structure to bring the rafts together. So what will happen? More number of receptors will come at one position. So what will happen? Now I can make so many contacts. Okay, so like this, what will happen now between two cells, the connection, the interaction has become strong. So initially it was only one receptor. Now this one receptor interaction has initiated the process of bringing more receptors together. Now when they come together with the help of the rafts, the interaction becomes strong. Okay, so this is how your cell to cell interaction takes place. Now, we were also talking about the cholesterol. So, in the case of this, what is happening? The cholesterol affects on the membrane fluidity by decreasing the mobility of the outer portion of the phospholipid fatty acid chains. So, what you have to understand over here is, more the cholesterol volume, the number of cholesterol molecules in the plasma membrane, it is going to become more fluid-like conditions. Okay. Now, it has got both roles. So here one question is there. If suppose you have a cell, okay, now that cell has been kept under a cold conditions. Okay, so normally a cell which grows at 37 degrees Celsius, now it has been transferred to a cold condition, let us say 20 degrees Celsius. Now, what will happen to the cell membrane lipid composition? Options are saturated fatty acids will increase, saturated fatty acid will decrease, or unsaturated fatty acid will increase or decrease. So what will be the answer for this? Yes, tell me. See, this is how. Tell me. So this is the picture which actually talks about the question which I have asked just right now. So I repeat my question. If a cell is grown at 37 degrees Celsius and after some time you have transferred it to the lower conditions, okay, lower temperature, let us say 20 degrees Celsius, what will happen to the lipid composition of the cell membrane? Look at the picture and tell me the answer. Anyone? Pallavi, Bhavika, anyone? Anyone? Yes. Anyone can tell me the answer? Yes? No? Should I explain then? See, if you see the structure also over here, what happens at the low temperature? The hydrocarbons are getting tightly packed. Now, to get a tightly packed, I already mentioned that you need to have more of saturated fatty acid. Okay. Now, same way, if the cell has been moved to higher temperature, it becomes more of fluid-like conditions. So what will happen? I don't want my cell to die at freezing conditions. Okay. So I don't want the cell to freeze and to become rigid. So what the cell will try to do, instead of having more of unsaturated, it will have more of unsaturated, because unsaturated fatty acids gives you fluid-like conditions. So at low temperature, the hydrocarbons are tightly packed. Okay. So in order to survive, it should have more of unsaturated fatty acids. Now, if suppose you are transferring your cell from 37 to 40 degrees Celsius or 42 degrees Celsius, higher temperature. So what will happen? Higher temperature, more of fluid-like conditions. So there, I don't want my membrane to lose its potential. Otherwise, all the cytoplasm will leak out. So there, I will have more amount of saturated fatty acids. Okay. So the answer is, at lower temperature, you need more of unsaturated. At higher temperature, you need more of saturated fatty acids. Okay. Is it clear? This topic is clear. See, it looks very simple, but when it
Yes,
comes to
ma'am.
question, sometimes mistakes are made. Okay. So I hope, okay, this is clear. Okay. So this is the last topic for today's class. So this you can read later. I'll share the slides later with you. So now we know that membrane has got the fluid-like property. Okay. So it means what? As I mentioned already, that lipids can actually laterally move. Laterally means from the top it can move. So it's not only the lipids, it's also your proteins, the integral proteins which we talk about, right? So they can also move laterally on the outer surface. Now, how to prove in bio? Now, when I said that you need physics, chemistry, math, it's because to prove something in biology, you need the applications of these three. Okay. So all the microscopes, all the chemical reagents, everything, you just need to prove something which is present in bio to be understood. And that is what is making biology interesting. So now these are the people, Larry Fry and Michael Edidin in 1970s. They proved this thing. So what they have proven is that the proteins on the cell membrane can move from one place to another. Okay. Now how they have done this, they have to show, right? Now something when you're able to show with proof, then only the people, the audience will actually believe you. So for this, what they have done is, so I'll just go directly to the figure actually. So you can see in the figure, so what they have done, they have taken two types of cells. Okay. So here they have taken two types of cells. They have taken one human and the other one mouse. Now, frankly speaking, when you look under the microscope, okay, these cells look same. So you cannot differentiate that this one is humans and the other one is the mouse, because at the cellular level, these cells looks all same under the microscope. Both are eukaryotic, both are mammals, right? And we have taken the in the same procedure. So both the cells under the microscope looks alike. Now, how can you differentiate them? The presence of the proteins. So in this case, what they have done is, to the human cell, the proteins are there, correct? These proteins, they were labeled with red antibody. Okay. So what does it mean? The antibody which was specific to the proteins of human cells were giving fluorescent red. Similarly, in the case of mouse, the antibody specific to mouse proteins were giving you green fluorescence. Okay. So this is the meaning when you say that it has got red and it has got green protein. So it is not the color of the protein, it is the fluorescence emitted by the antibodies which are specific to these mouse and human proteins which are present on the surface of their plasma membrane. Okay, clear? Now, so what they did, they try to fuse both these cells. Okay, so actually in practical, these things are possible now and it has become very easy. Now, if you ask me how this was fused, there's something called electrical cell fusion. So what is happening in this? So you give small spark to the cell. So what will happen? It gets shocked, like how we get shocked when we touch some naked wire. So we get electrical shock. In the same way, these cells also get they are given with the small spark. So what happens when the spark is given? The cell's permeability, the membrane permeability becomes loose. Okay. So suppose you have got cells like this, human, mouse is there. Now I have given a electrical spark to these. So what happens? I have brought them together, but they are not attaching themselves. So what will I do? I'll give a small electrical spark. So during that time, what will happen? The membrane permeability becomes loose. And that is the time they actually get attached. Okay. Since both are phospholipids, so what will happen? They both will get attached and then they become a bigger cell. So what will happen now? So finally, the fusion has taken place. So one method is electrical stimulation. One method is electrical stimulation and the second method is using PEG. Now what is PEG? All these things you need to remember, okay? Nobody is going to ask the procedure, but they might ask you what are the methods. Polyethylene glycol. Please remember. So what are the two methods of cell fusion? Electrical cell fusion, that is when you're giving a electrical spark, but you need to bring the two cells together. There is no point if the cells are far away. So you need to bring them together, then give the electrical spark and the permeability, that is the membrane potential becomes weak and then they fuse together. Okay. And the same way PEG is it's a chemical agent called polyethylene glycol. So these chemicals, so you have got a solution in a test tube. So both human and mouse you add, okay, in the buffer. Now to that you add your PEG solution. So what will happen? It has the ability to bring them together and stick it. So forcefully it just sticks. So when you stick something for a longer time, what happens? The membrane actually mix ups. And that's how you fuse your cells. Now they incubated for 40 to 60 minutes. So after that, what they observe? So in the experiment, what they do first is, first they're going to take the measurement. Okay. So they took the measurement and they saw that half of the cell region is giving the red fluorescent and other half is giving the green fluorescent. Okay. Now after incubation, what they observe? That there was a mix of fluorescence. There was overlapping of red and green fluorescence. So from this, what they understood? That the proteins can move laterally. So from one region to another region, the proteins were able to move. And at the end, what happens? Now you cannot say that this half and this half of was for human and for the mouse. Now it's all mixed. Now you cannot say which portion is from human and which portion is from the mouse. But only the protein's presence will tell you. So from this experiment, they concluded that the membrane has got the fluid-like property, and both lipids as well as the proteins, they move laterally. Okay. So I hope this is clear, this experiment. So nobody's going to ask you the experiment, but what exactly the principle or the technique behind the experiment. So this was all about the today's class. Thank you. So like on rivers and all, you must have seen something like this. People just stand over here and then they move with the help of the long stick. So those are called rafts.
Yes,
Or
ma'am.
nowadays we can have this river raftings, you must have seen. So some
Yes, ma'am.
air-filled boat kind of things
Yeah.
are there. So those are rafts. Okay. So now here what we are talking about is, so you have got a cell, correct? Now on the cell we talk about that it has got the phospholipids, correct? Both outer and inner. So this is your outer, this is your inner. Now these rafts are what? Actually on your plasma membrane, they are the clusters like this. Okay. So as I mentioned that on your outer surface, you have got phosphatidylcholine and sphingomyelin. Remember the types of lipids? Sphingomyelin is there. Now, these rafts are rich in sphingomyelin as well as cholesterol. So it means what? Only sphingomyelin and cholesterol in between are present. These are the clusters. Rest all, you will have your different phospholipids. Okay. So just imagine this is the top of your cell. So these each dot represents one phospholipid. Now these are the clusters. Now on the clusters, you have got your protein receptors like this. Okay, these are your integral proteins. Now, whenever any cell-to-cell interaction is happening, so what will happen that time? There are certain active sites and binding sites on these receptors from the other cell, if they are coming in close vicinity of this. So they will also have their binding sites, correct? So when they interact, what will happen? These rats, all these rats will come together in one place. So they cluster like this. So initially they will be present here and there in a cell, on a cell. So when there is an interaction with the outer one, what will happen? These rats will come together and then they will have the interaction. Okay, now it's clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Anyone else? Any other doubts are there?
Yes.
So that was today's our first lecture on cell biology. That is about the biological membranes we talked about today, and many new topics we are going to study slowly. So each day with new topic and the question answers, everything. So you can join our Telegram channel also, so that we can have the online quiz, test and everything. So with this strategy, we are going to complete our syllabus in 6 months. That's the motto, that's the target over here. So even if you are in your second year BSc or third year BSc, join us as soon as possible and let's begin our journey. So in between, you can ask the questions. It will be discussed in detail. There is no problem. We can go more than 3 times in order to explain the concept. And yes, so if you like this video, please subscribe and keep watching. Join us in this online classes, and I'll help you in clearing your exams. So all the best wishes from my side, Dr. Ruby Singh.